Next lesson, JustProfessor here, you see the same number everywhere and think the universe is sending you a sign. You notice a pattern in random events and believe you've discovered something important. You connect dots that have nothing to do with each other and convince yourself you've found the truth. But you haven't. Your brain just tricked you into seeing meaning where there is none. This is apophenia, and it's making you believe in things that aren't real. Your brain is a pattern-finding machine, but it's broken. It finds patterns even when there aren't any. It sees connections between random events. It turns coincidences into prophecies. And the worst part is, you trust these fake patterns. You make decisions based on them. You build beliefs around them. And you have no idea you're basing your entire worldview on nothing but noise. So what is apophenia? It's when your brain perceives meaningful patterns in random data. You look at clouds and see faces. You look at statistics and see trends that don't exist. You experience a few coincidences and think they're connected. Your brain is trying to make sense of chaos, but instead of accepting that some things are random, it invents patterns to explain them, and those invented patterns feel real. They feel important, but they're not. Here's why this destroys your thinking. Random things happen all the time. Coincidences occur constantly. But your brain can't accept randomness. It needs everything to mean something. So when you see the same car 3 days in a row, your brain doesn't think it's chance. It thinks someone's following you. When you think of a friend and they call, your brain doesn't think it's coincidence. It thinks you're psychic. You're not paranoid. You're not gifted. You're just experiencing apophenia. This gets dangerous fast. Because once you see a pattern, you start looking for more evidence. And guess what? You'll find it. Not because the pattern is real, but because you're actively searching for anything that confirms it. You ignore all the times the pattern doesn't happen. You ignore all the evidence against it. You only count the hits and forget the misses. And now you're absolutely convinced that your fake pattern is real. Let me show you how this plays out. You're trying to make money. You notice that every time you wear a certain shirt, you have a good day, so you start wearing that shirt more. And sometimes you have good days. Sometimes you don't, but you only remember the good days. You forget the bad ones. And now you believe that shirt is lucky. You've created a superstition based on random correlation. And you'll defend it because it feels true. Or think about conspiracy theories. Someone notices that a few unrelated events happen around the same time. Their brain connects them into a pattern. Now those events aren't random anymore. They're connected. They're part of a plan. And once you see that pattern, you start finding more connections. More evidence. Everything fits if you squint hard enough, but none of it is real. It's just apophenia turning randomness into a story. Apophenia shows up in gambling too. You think you figured out the slot machine. You think you see a pattern in the cards. You think you know when you're about to win. But there is no pattern. It's random. The machine doesn't care about your last 10 spins. The cards don't remember what happened before, but your brain sees patterns anyway. And that's why you keep playing. You're chasing a pattern that doesn't exist and losing money in the process. This happens with stock trading too. You look at charts. You see patterns. You think you can predict what's going to happen next. Head and shoulders, double bottoms. All these fancy terms for patterns people think they see. But studies show that most of these patterns have no predictive power. They're just shapes your brain finds in random price movements. But traders believe in them so strongly that entire strategies are built around them. And most of those traders lose money. Apophenia makes you believe in signs from the universe. You're thinking about someone and a song comes on that reminds you of them. That's not the universe. That's your brain finding a connection between two unrelated things. You're struggling with a decision and you see a billboard with a message that seems relevant. That's not fate. That's you noticing one billboard out of hundreds because it happened to match what you were thinking about. Your brain does this because pattern recognition kept humans alive. If you heard rustling in the bushes twice and got attacked by a predator the first time, it made sense to run the second time. Better to see a pattern that isn't there than miss one that is. The cost of a false positive is low. The cost of a false negative is death. So your brain evolved to see patterns everywhere, even when they don't exist. But that survival mechanism is now working against you. You're not dodging predators anymore. You're making complex decisions in a world full of random noise. And your brain is still seeing threats and patterns that aren't there. It's applying ancient programming to modern problems. And it's making you paranoid, superstitious, and wrong. Here's where apophenia gets really dangerous. It makes you resistant to evidence. Because once you've seen a pattern, your brain treats it as fact. And when someone shows you data that contradicts your pattern, you don't change your mind. You think they're wrong, you think they're missing something. You double down on the pattern because it feels so real. And that's how smart people end up believing ridiculous things. Apophenia also destroys your ability to understand probability. You think rare events are meaningful. You think coincidences are messages. You think luck is a pattern you can learn. But probability doesn't work like that. Rare things happen all the time because there are billions of opportunities for them to happen. If something has a 1 in a million chance and you try it a million times, it'll probably happen. That's not special. That's math, but your brain sees it as a pattern. Think about birthday coincidences. You meet someone and you have the same birthday. That feels meaningful. But with just 23 people in a room, there's a 50% chance 2 of them share a birthday. With 70 people, it's almost certain. It's not a cosmic connection, it's just probability. But apophenia makes it feel like fate. So why does your brain refuse to accept randomness? Because randomness is uncomfortable. It means you have less control than you think. It means bad things can happen for no reason. It means the universe doesn't care about you. That's scary. So your brain invents patterns to create the illusion of order. It makes you feel like you understand what's happening. Like you can predict what comes next. Like you're in control. But you're not. You're just seeing shapes in the clouds. So how do you fight apophenia? How do you stop seeing patterns that don't exist? First, assume randomness. When something strange happens, your first thought should be coincidence. Not conspiracy. Not a sign. Not a sign. Just random chance. Because most of the time that's what it is. Don't create a pattern until you have real evidence. Second, count the misses. Every time you think you've found a pattern, track all the times it doesn't happen. If you only remember the hits, you're fooling yourself. If your lucky shirt only works half the time, it's not lucky. If your trading pattern loses money, it's not a pattern. Count everything, not just what confirms your belief. Third, understand probability. Learn how often coincidences happen by pure chance. Learn about regression to the mean. Learn about the clustering illusion. Most of what you think is a pattern is just normal randomness that your brain misinterprets. Fourth, demand large sample sizes. 1 coincidence means nothing. 5 coincidences mean nothing. You need hundreds or thousands of data points before you can claim there's a real pattern. And even then, you need to control for other variables. If you're not doing that, you're just guessing. And finally, accept chaos. The world is random. Bad things happen to good people for no reason. Good things happen to bad people by accident. There's no grand plan, no hidden order. No secret patterns only you can see. It's just chaos. And once you accept that, you stop wasting time chasing fake patterns and start dealing with reality. Look, apophenia is your brain's way of protecting you from the terror of randomness. It wants you to believe there's order in the chaos, that everything happens for a reason, that you can predict and control what happens next. But you can't, and believing in fake patterns doesn't protect you. It just makes you bad at thinking. The truth is, most of what you think you understand about how the world works is based on patterns you invented. Patterns that felt real but weren't. And those fake patterns are driving your decisions, your beliefs, your entire worldview. You're navigating life based on a map your brain drew from random noise. So next time you think you've discovered a pattern, ask yourself if it's real or if your brain is just doing what it always does, finding meaning in chaos, creating order from randomness, seeing faces in clouds. Because most of the time that's all it is. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can start making decisions based on reality instead of patterns that were never there. Subscribe if you just realized how many fake patterns you've been trusting.